Alive now.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing today? Hope we all doing well. My name is Robert, Guar, Virginia, from the closing argument. Sorry for the lateness. Um, Most of the guys are traveling. I think some of the guys are in Philadelphia, attending the funeral of the son of Miss Rose. Um, my condolences to her and her family. Um, and some of them would join me later. But let's go ahead and share the link, share the show, um, and let's have a fascinating conversation today. Today is the end of the week. It's Friday. Um, it's the weekend for many of you, and the weekend um, for us over here as well. So let's share the platform. If you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me, Miss Melvin, Peter White, good evening. I'm here always the first. Well, thanks for being the first. Please share the platform. Um, Mr. Connor, Doris Thompson, thanks for watching. Abraham Connor, thanks for watching. Um, Thank you for following us. Listen, share the platform. Um, the rest of the guys will join later on. Uh, Congratulations on your wedding. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Um, yeah, so let's share the show. I'm watching from Morovia, Mr. Prince. Prince Topland, thank you so much for watching us from LIB, the capital city of Morovia. Hope all is well out there. Um, yeah, so let's share the platform. We'll give you a few minutes for the rest of the guys to come on. Um, how we doing today? And I hope that wherever you watch it from, Mr. John Wakova, you're watching from Banga. Oh, I have not been out that way in a minute. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following us. Let's share the platform. Henry Doe is watching from Massachusetts, Boston. I was out that way a few weeks ago. I think probably 2 weeks ago. In and out. Michigan. Arnold Taylor. Uh, hey, watching from Michigan. Okay, that's good. Um, but thanks for watching. Thanks for coming on. And again, we apologize for our tardy. Mr. Moore Freeman, Miss Moore Freeman, I think. Everybody's, some of the guys went to Philadelphia to attend a funeral. So some of them are driving, some are traveling. Atlantic City, New Jersey, in the house. Mr. John Conant, thanks for watching. Um, but it's a great day. It's been a great day uh, on my side, and I hope that each of us are having an excellent day. The president of Liberia spoke today at the 12th Black Business Conference in my backyard in Atlanta, downtown, roughly about 3 minutes from my office. Um, and I will talk a little bit about that. Um, absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Please, guys, share the platform. Let's share the show. Love you too, Lydia. Kai, love you, love you, love you. We love all of you guys, man. We love you guys for your loyalty and your commitment to great conversations that are substance based. Miss Sarah Dobo, thank you for watching. Um, oh, look at this guy, Miss Nightway Peterson Nightway, watching from Rome, Italy. Oh, Italy is a nice place. Nice place to be. I was in Italy last year. It was an in and out kind of trip. So hopefully I can revisit and stay for a longer time. Um, is there anyone in the studio? If you're in the studio, Heron, can you come on? Let me see some of you guys' face. Are we live on the radio? If you are in the studio, oh, thank you so much, McDonough. Thank you so much. We're humble. But it's a lot happening. A lot been happening in the country. Yesterday we talked about um, the violence that occurred. Moses Dennis, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. We talk about the violence that occurred yesterday at the CDC headquarters. We had Ivan Wissa on. We had attorney Isaac Jackson on. Uh, we had all of the guys on yesterday. It was a fascinating conversation about where we are as a country. We talk about the tribalism that seems to be taking over the government, and we talked about opportunities for young Liberians, and we talked about security. Um, for me, security is extremely important in our country, and it's concerning when we have chaos like what occurred yesterday with the police and the and partisans of the opposition party. Is very concerning, and I think that um, we've got to conduct ourselves in a way that represents who we are, and also in a way that is that is cautious when it comes to the peace of our country. We've done well when it comes to maintaining the peace in Liberia. The fact that you no longer have peacekeepers in our country, uh, that we depend on our own security apparatus in our country. We've got to continue down that path where we continue to stay peaceful. And I think when anyone or any action for that matter attempts to derail or take us back to chaos and destruction, And I think we've got to put politics aside and speak out against that. And that's exactly what we attempted to do yesterday. And hopefully, we can expound on that today, because we have no place. Violence has no place in our democracy. We can fearlessly disagree. We can fearlessly talk about the issues. Um, we can talk about fighting corruption. We can talk about all of the things that are concerning to things that are a threat to our democracy. We can talk about them, and make the best argument win, right? But we've got to do so peacefully. We got to do so within the confines of the law and the Constitution, that is protected, that protects all Liberians, regardless of your ethnic background, and regardless of your political affiliation, and regardless of how you sound, regardless of the size of your bank account, regardless of your social status. That Constitution protects all of us. And I think that anyone who attempts to disrupt what we enjoy right now, what we have enjoyed for so long, I think we must stand up and speak up against it. And so, as I said yesterday, I think what happened was wrong. I think what the police did was wrong. If there are allegedly guns in the backyard of the CDC headquarters, then you obtain the legal permit to legally go and search that and uncover what you think is there, right? You don't go out there and try to antagonize and provoke those guys. They have the right to sleep in the party headquarters as long as they're not bothering no one. That's their business. That's their prerogative, right? That's their vicinity. They pay for that. The government is not paying for that. All right. So we've got to remain peaceful. And to those young men, we got to have a different strategy when it comes to defense. I understand you keep poking, uh, people, and people will react differently, right? But in the interest of peace, we got to develop a better defense mechanism when it comes to how we respond to the police or police brutality, for that matter, and a better way to address these injustices, and what have you. So please, please, share the platform. Moses Dennis, thanks for sharing. Ivan Logan, welcome back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, yeah, I mean, even if that's the case, that's other people's property. You can't just intrude on other people's property. It's okay. Thank you. We are on Hot FM's Hot FM 109.7 and Truth FM as well. So thank you for following. Thank you for following. We love our audience, man. We love our audience. For us, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Oh, absolutely, Mr. Larry Candidate. Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. For us, yeah, we don't care about we don't care about views. We don't care about how many people watching us. A lot of times, for me, it's not about quantity, right? It's about quality. The quality of the conversation that we have, the information dissemination. How factual are we? Are we helping to protect the peace, or are we helping to to destroy the peace, right? Because information is vital. Information is very important, and how you put out information can help calm situations, or it makes the situation worse, right? So we are here to educate people. We have true professionals here on this platform. We don't believe in gossip. We are not here for gossip and getting into people's business and creating false stories, and to generate more audience. Liberian people will let noise. If you look at social media today and what really draws people attention is gossip. It's noise. People want to see people talk about people personal lives on social media. People want to see people drag other people's on social media. They want to see us fight. This is not what this platform is about. This platform is about getting out the right information. Yes, we will be very firm and strong in our criticism when necessary. Yes, we will not hesitate to. We will not mince our words. Yes, we will hold people accountable. We will be balanced. I think for the most part, most of us are balanced here, right? We may not agree with this administration, but we respect the office of the president. I personally do. And I know a lot of the guys too, Mr. Professor Larry Kennedy. I mean, we have a whole professor here. This is a man, this is not joking people. We have a whole chairman here, Chairman Ben Sanvee. We have RT we have RT professionals here. We have the great Tomalin George. We have a reputable journalist here. So this is what the closing argument is about. We are professionals. We are not here to gossip. We're not here to create fake views. So if it's 100 people watching, those 100 people will be guaranteed a substantive conversation, one that focuses on the bread and butter issues. And we try, look, we're all human beings. We're not always factual, but we try to be guided down that line. Manchester United is playing tomorrow, Robert. Yeah, Brian. Manchester United plays tomorrow, and I think we've done well. But while I wait for the guys, I want us to, I want us to, yeah, we that exactly. We want to be professional with 77, even one view, one view. We want to be professional with one view. It doesn't matter how many views. What matters is what are our audience taking away? What are the information? What can they learn from what we're providing? Right? What can they learn? This is the reason why Fox News has a different audience than CNN. This is the reason why every political party to some extent have their own base, have their own media outlet. In Liberia, the Unity Party, they feel more comfortable as Spoon. You know, that's why sometimes they don't come yet. You know, we that's why people, some of them, they don't come here, right? Because they feel more comfortable as Spoon. And some people who want the balanced news, they come here. They come here to listen to us give a balanced perspective on national issues, and that's what it's about. But while I wait for the other guys, I want to touch on the president, the president keynote speech at the 12 Black Business Conference today in Atlanta. Um, in Atlanta, and many of you who may not know, the president of Liberia, uh, the president of Liberia was here today, and he spoke at the 12 Black conference, a business conference in Atlanta. And I think he's been meeting with a lot of different folks to help bring businesses back home. I really thought that his speech was not bad, um, but I think that we've come to a realization that Joseph Boaga, perhaps he's a very soft-spoken president, and that's the way he delivers his speeches. And sometimes it's not about how powerful your speech is; it's mostly about the substance of it. But I thought that it lacked the both. Um, and I thought about, of course, it's talked about Liberia is open for business, and meeting with all of these different business folks prior to this speech. I believe is an attempt to encourage folks to go back and invest in our country. But most of the folks that I've spoken to, and some of the folks that met with the president, a lot of folks have interest in returning to Liberia to invest, right? And not just foreigners, Liberians. A lot of folks want to return home to invest. But the major question that comes to mind is 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 our investors interest protected in our country, um and should they not be worried about a potential loss of investment? And I think that's a valid question, that's a valid concern. And and have the government, or do the government have any kind of strategy when it comes to answering that question? Have they formulated a really, well-rounded answer, that people cannot just hear, but they can see when they look at the country that they are investing in, right? And so some of the questions that have come to mind is peace, peace, and should me as an investor, should I be concerned when it comes to um, uh, uh, the sustained peace in our country? Should I be concerned? The possibility of uh, um, any chaos erupting, right? What are those concerns? And I think those are very, very valid concerns. When you looked at some of the things that are happening today, like what happened yesterday, I thought that the government have got to be careful, right? Because again, the image of our country, all of us have a responsibility to sell the image of Liberia. But the sole responsibility when it comes to selling the image of our country lies in the hands of the government, right? Lies in the hands of the government. And so if the government responsibility is to bring in investor, okay, to create jobs for our people, then the government have to ensure that when investors are asking questions about, are we safe, or our business safe, right? In our country, is it a guarantee that we are able to go there and not worry about nothing? Uh, when it comes to security, how can you answer that question effectively when people are watching, for instance, what happened yesterday? And so, if I was an investor, right, looking at what happened yesterday, just watching the videos and hearing about a young man losing his life because of that, how can you reassure me that I can go to Liberia and invest $1 million in any business for that matter? How can you reassure me that? How can you reassure Liberians who are not interested in the politics of the day? There are many Liberians here that are not interested in the politics. I know a lot of folks that are not interested in the politics. A friend of mine went to Ghana and in Ghana, invested in Ghana, bought a house in Ghana and put that house on the market, renovated the house, spent a lot of money, renovated the house and put the house on the market as a vacation home. There are Liberians who are investing in units, in apartment units, costing $200,000, $300,000, and putting them on Airbnb. How do we have those folks go to Liberia and investing in Liberia? And people might ask, why are they leaving that country to go away to that neighboring country to invest? Why are they doing that? The question is because Ghana is providing for them the security, the comfort, and the reassurance that they can do business smoothly in Ghana, and the reassurance that they can get a return on their investment. And so when it comes to investing, people don't really look at just my country, my country. It's a patriotic thing to say, look, I want to do something in my country. I want to invest in my country. I want to do business in my country. But as a businessman and businesswoman, you also have got to think about, I don't want to just throw money out there like that. I don't want to just waste my money. I want an environment where I can invest, I can give back, I can hire my own people, but I can also in the next year or two open another branch of my business. Ghana and other neighboring countries in the region is providing that environment, that conducive and peaceful work environment where you can go and you can do businesses, where you don't have to bribe damn near everybody before you get to the main person. Ghana is providing that. Kenya is providing that. Even our neighboring Ivory Coast is providing that. They're providing security in a sense where you can move and roam around at 3 o'clock in the morning. There are street lights all over the place, right? You can order through mobile apps, and people can bring your food just like you can order Uber Eats here, right? 2 o'clock in the morning doesn't really matter. Are we providing these kinds of environments in our country when it comes to folks who might have serious concerns about investing in Liberia? So when I listened to the president's speech at the Black Business in Atlanta, I thought that the speech lacked a lot of energy. I did not. You can barely hear the president, even if it was some substance in it. You can better hear the president. But how do you effectively make the argument that Liberia is open for business without properly reassuring investors that they have an environment where they can make money? They have an environment where their investment, they can have some return on investment. They have an environment where that Liberians are equipped enough to work and take advantage of those opportunities that are being brought back home. And I think that that's something that we have to address as a country, not only to foreign investors, but to Liberians themselves who have the funds, who wants to invest, but have serious concerns about investing in our country. We have a lot of work to do, and this work cannot be just done by the government, right? It can't just be the government, but the government have got to start, which is why it is very paramount that when a government makes decision when it comes to how to engage citizens, especially when it's involved political opponents, the government have got to pick its battle. When you are speaking at a business forum like that, and on the eve of that business forum, investors are at the hotels, and you know what? These people are not just speaking to, they don't think that they don't know the country. I don't know any investor who wants to invest or who may have any interest in investing. Before these guys speak to the president, before you invite them in the room to sit with the president or talk with the president, they do that due diligence. They do that due diligence. It's just like when I'm coming for an interview. When I'm coming for an interview and I don't know the general manager, and I don't know the director of operations, I research them. I don't know the director of human resource. These are the folks that you talk to when you are coming for an interview, or the owners for that matter. When you're coming for an interview and for a higher position, right? You do your due diligence and you learn about these people, their careers, right? You learn about the hotel, the establishment, what are their values, and how does they align with your values, right? And it helps you make your case as to why you are the best fit to get that job. You don't just walk into an interview and don't know the company and what they stand for, what their values, and what is something that interests you the most about them. And so these business folks, they do that due diligence. They learn about the country. They go on YouTube. They go to the news media, the recent news on Liberia. And I can guarantee you, while you were speaking to these investors yesterday and before the speech today, they're looking online. They're looking online to see what's happening. And imagine me as an investor who's never been to Liberia before, who don't understand the mindset of Liberians and don't know what I'm walking into, with a history of over 14 years of civil war and chaos. Watching that, the first thing I'm thinking about, have they actually moved past that stage of destruction where thousands of people were killed senselessly? Have they moved past that stage? Have they put in place the proper mechanism for rehabilitation and reintegration of ex-combatants? or do you still have loose cannons folks out there? People talked about how many men and young folks are ready on standby just in case something happened, and how easily it would take for these guys to really go out there. Easy. And can you imagine these young men don't have no jobs? They don't have nothing to do. They're so less busy. Why you think they're sleeping at CDC headquarters? Why? You think if these young men had jobs, they will not be home resting and trying to prep themselves for work? So we got the government have to be smart. The government have to be smart. Miss Pay. The rest of the guys will come on. The rest of the guys will come on. Most of them went to Pennsylvania for a funeral. You know, the closing argument. You know, a lot of these guys are humanitarian. We're family. We believe in supporting the community, and so one of our sisters, Rose, lost her son, and so some of them went out there. I know Lofa Julius and Dr. Peabody were in Minnesota for that funeral. I think that occurred yesterday, and so some of them are driving back, traveling, and whatnot. So I'm just here holding the front until some of them come on. Um, but but just to go back, we have the government have to make sure that they are leading the front when it comes to maintaining the peace in Liberia, because it will hurt the government case internationally when they talked about Liberia is open for business. It will hurt the government's. It will hurt the government. It will hurt the government case when you are making the case that Liberia is open for business, and you're encouraging black business owners. Remember, a lot of black business owners don't have the kind of capital as, to be honest with you, a lot of these big firms led by white people, they don't, and so they are very very careful in spending their money. They're very careful in spending their money. They understand the advantage in going overseas. They're doing it in Ghana. They're doing it in Ghana. You will be shocked as to how many black folks own homes in Accra today. You'll be shocked as to how many black Americans own home in Kenya. You'll be shocked as to how many Americans now live in these places. You get on a flight from New York, going to Accra, you'll be shocked. And you have conversation with these people. They've moved back home 2, 3 years, some of them 10 years. They only come back to the US to visit. Why do you think it's easy for them to make that decision? It's easy for them to make that decision because of the environment being provided. And it's not to say that Ghana is perfect. Every country has its own hood. Every country, there's dusty road in every country. In Ghana have a whole bunch of them. Every country have areas where you will see filth and dirt all over the place. Every country have that. Every country have crimes. Even in this country, the crime rate is high. Every country have its own issues. But every country also provides for not only investors or folks who might have interest in returning to invest and live. They have an environment where people can be reassured that they can live peacefully without being robbed. They can live peacefully where they can wake up in the morning and jog down Broad Street without thinking that someone can follow them. If you got small money today, you can just go walk and jog down Broad Street at 3 o'clock. You can't do that. You can just park your car on the road in certain places in the country. Even your own community. You can just park your car in your own garage without making sure you have security there. The gate is locked because them boys will come and get you. It happens all the time. So we have to make sure that as a government we are doing these things so that when we go outside to make the case for Liberia. Look, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Each of us have a responsibility to make the case for our country and to sell the image for our country. Each of us. But we've got to be honest. We got to be honest. I can't just go and sell Liberia and lie to people and say, hey, this is what to expect. And then they go to Liberia, they expect something totally different. My credibility is on the line. So just how the president credibility is on the line, each of us have our credibility on the line when we're encouraging people to return home to invest.
Continue on I-895 South.
So I thought that the president's speech, I thought it was a great opportunity to speak at that event today. No one should tell you that it's not a great event to speak to. It's a great opportunity. I don't think that um, I don't think that it wasn't needed, right? Because this is not the first time they've invited leaders to come and speak at those conferences. I believe the tourism ambassador at one point, tourism ambassadors have spoken at this event. So it's a business forum. It's a great opportunity. But for the president of Liberia and all of the folks around him, how do you create an environment? How do you create a message? How do you create a message outside of just Liberia is open for business? It comes with a whole package. How do you create? And these are things that our tourism leaders should be working. This is the reason why in our Let's Investor coming, this is the reason why I continue to say that we need true professionals to come on board when it comes to tourism. And we need that separated from from information. Because if you have these people on board, when the president is speaking on business and just elevating tourism in our country and things like that, you need people to put together these messages. Security in every country is important. Security in every country is important. I don't care how beautiful your country is. Security in every country is important. I was in Mexico uh, uh, last week, and we were deciding where to go. Sylvester, I learned that Cabo is the California, for instance, to some extent when it comes to the cost of living of Mexico, as opposed to Cancun. Things are so expensive out there. A cocktail is like $29. I was shocked. No, you muted, you muted.
It's more okay than Cancun?
It's cheap, it's more expensive
Than
than
Cancun. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, because Cancun is
You can
very,
get
very, very, very much okay to be.
yeah.
Yeah, I experienced that
So
there.
a lot of people go to Cabo, but there are some people who just can't afford Cabo, and they will take the risk and go to Cancun. But the crime rate out there is high. The cartels are more out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? You know, and so they call Cabo the people who got money area. The homes out there are nice. Those people are living on mountains. Some celebrities in the U.S. they have homes, vacation homes out there, but it's expensive. It is no joke. If you don't got money, you can't go for no 1 week vacation out there, right? And so and so how do we create a message, Sylvester? Well, when the president goes to this kind of business forum where he can just give a message and reassure investors that look, Liberia is open for business. And we can reassure you that you will have your return on your investment. You can move your families back home. You can move your family back home to go out there, and there are great schools out there. How do you convince investors? But how do you convince Liberians? Liberians got money. There are people in this country that I know plenty of Liberians that got super money in this country. How do you convince them to return home to build homes? You know how many Liberians go back home and they have to stay in an Airbnb and pay thousands of dollars? Some of these folks have questioned. Should I invest $100,000, $200,000 into building a nice homes? In a nice home. How can I protect my investment? So these are things that we have got to address as a country outside of just saying Liberia is open for business. When investors see that the police have no control, when investors see that there's no relationship with the community and the police, and when they see those videos, and when we have not done a good job to really give these young men and women who fought war the opportunity to rehabilitate, to be productive citizens, it raises concern. And so, Sylvester, I want you to come in and talk about that.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I think you just struck it out into your just inner monologue. I was fighting before I could join, and that's the point. Every democracy we have, every society, every country, and that's one of the major things other countries will push for. The first and foremost thing we will have to have in our country to make the country open the country for investors to come in is security. We have a very paramount and key on the issue of security. And our major problem from the time we had those two major, the last major construction issue going through Madam Salih. Imagine Madam Salih left office. We're talking almost going to 8 years now. Yes, from the end of 2017. I mean, it is the sparse. We have not seen no major company going in the country to invest because our politics is very deeply polarized. We've got a very polarizing kind of a politics now. And everyone is that if you are not in power, for instance, if the CDC government was just in power quite recently, the opposition came out against them to bring a lot of propaganda to bear. Say things that were not happening in the country. Demonize the very country. Say those very counterproductive things about the country. Our own liberals, because of naked quest for power, we portray the country as a country is insecure. And now you empower. The same thing is unfolding now. Now, the tide has turned, but you have the same situation unfolding here every day. You saw what happened in Monrovia. You said there's nobody. Even if I got those that even got 10,000, I don't want to venture to put 10,000. That's why people putting millions of dollars in a structure of such. Nobody want to put 10,000. And your argument was very solid just now by you saying Liberians got serious money. Those money Liberians got at least to build homes, so they will always take their kids on vacation every season. That alone can expose the country to a lot of things. Because if they start buying homes in the country, instead of going for Airbnb, they will pay their regular real estate taxes to the government. Then more revenue will going to accrue there. Those Liberians that are moving back home to buy houses or to buy their own homes. So whenever they back home, they got a place to be and place to rest and what have you. They're going to be thinking that if I went home, for instance, where do I go for entertainment when I'm going back home? I won't be attacked on the way back by armed robbers, by very security people that I cannot trust the police. If I'm attacked, who's going to rescue me? All those things will come to bear. It is important that the government focus more or less on. Now, our problem back about bringing in investor, attracting investor, is that we got a very messy security system in the country. We're not God blessing our country on a serious note. On a more serious note, there's nothing put in place to say we're going to put in the. For instance, drive in the middle of Accra. You just went to Accra recent time. You see the strategic area where you see security presence in Accra. In Accra, Ghana. The same thing. Now, you will say there's a military government in Guinea-Conakry, but try that in Conakry. Strategically, you see this guy, what they call the Beetle with the red beret and the rest of it, with the major SUV security vehicles mounted in different parts. And these are very huge cities. Accra is huge. Conakry is very huge. They are strategically deployed because they try to reassure their citizens and those residents coming in the country that the country is served is ready for investors to come in. If you come in, even in the nightlife in Accra, you move around, you see folks in Accra driving and not even in traffic. They will hold their phone, play with it, calling. You don't try that in Monrovia. You don't try that, Robert. I know you don't go to Monrovia, hold phone this way in your hand in a traffic in a vehicle. You don't do that. Our females counterpart winning even news that jewelry they will have, expensive one to say you want to mount that on you. Someone from a motorball or running motorball will just come and smash it from your neck. Sometimes they can almost kill some of those females from those things. It's bad. So how do we go about seizing those things to improve the country? And listen, if we cannot improve security, well, everything we will say every day on this thing, we cannot improve security in that country. There's going to be a serious problem, but no investor is going to go, and no investor going in our country, nothing going to change. Absolutely nothing going to change. They're going to be running through this cycle and what have you. So what I want for the new government to do, if President Walker is ready to move the country, he will have to focus first and foremost on the issue about recruiting more security. Now, there's this news that the Liberian Immigration Service is trying to recruit some officers. They say they need about 500 persons. We hear information that close to 10,000 already have applied for this job.
P, we continue. I'll be right back.
Yes. So close to 5,000 basically apply for this job. How do we go about recruiting just 500 individuals? Then we have that amount. No, it's good to create the jobs, but we have to be strategic as to how we want to go about this. Back to the issue of the security process. It's very important because if Mr. President, if your administration deploy or pay key attention to security, what it's going to do for the country is that it's going to help expose the country to for other folks to understand that the country is safe, and investors are going to be now more reliably informed and will build some level of confidence in the administration to push in their millions of dollars and deploy their personnel to come and do the job. And that we're going to bring a lot of job creation to the country. It's going to raise the issue of a revenue generation. The country is going to get a lot of money to invest in other strategic area. We already got some problem on our infrastructure process, the process about building roads and security and the rest of that. So yes, to hire these young people is very important. We need these people to go in the area, these competent high school graduates or college product, if you will, to enter the Liberian Immigration Service. We need those people because the Immigration Service is not just another parasecurity institution that you go. You need to have some level of knowledge. You need to be knowledgeable of certain situations because you're dealing with a documentation processing and the rest of that, right? So those that will be deployed in our immigration trial, very borders, lines, and what have you. Remember, the country this is a country of 43,000 square miles. We have a very porous border. Most of our border, we cannot even mandate by our men deployed. So our border are very porous. How do we go about putting into place a strategic process about doing major recruitment in the immigration service? Is by doing a strategic process. Put a line of that. If you need around 5, you can do the line around there. But we need to focus again. That's part of the process. There was a time I engaged personally some folks that came from Botswana coming to Liberia. The person at the time called me. So, so Pee Wee, we know very well you guys are with the foreign ministry. We notice that at the level of the immigration, we have a lot of folks deployed at the airport that normally arrives most of our guys when they didn't even know that we're special guests of the government. So we have to place some cost. So you need the deployment process on 49 in the immigration service. You need to build the professional immigration and strategically pay them so that because they are the face of the country. If people they have the first line of contact, you engage those people. So you got professionalism is there, the level of competence is there, then that level of joy where the level of because you need to incentivize them. The level of incentive you provide for them will encourage them to perform very adequately. So these are things I'm saying. It's good that we hire, but we need to go back to the threshold as to what's the intent of hiring these people, and we shouldn't. Now, is it are they paying money for application fees that you need 500 persons and you pushing towards having almost 10,000 individuals? What's the intent of that? I mean, if you need 500 persons, you can catch around 1,000 persons. And you do an evaluation between 1,000 persons to find the competent one. I mean, the 50% of the rest will go, and you take the 500. Why you need 500 individuals and you're taking 10,000 persons? I don't understand how we're going about it. So, Robert, there are a lot of things we need to do, but it is very key that we put some serious attention on national security in the country. That's going to help the country move forward. That's going to build confidence in investors to put more money. Those are already in the country. The few investors we have, it will put more confidence in them to put more money in the system, and we encourage more other new investors to come to the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. I enjoyed that you said that. I mean, yeah, I was in Ghana recently, and every time, and trust me, I love being back home. I've been back home since 2009 when I first graduated college. I went back home, and we've done a lot of work there, and I just love being back with our people, family members, and friends. And it's always good to be back. But every time you're in Liberia, it's almost like you enjoy being there. You enjoy being with friends and family members. But I was telling a friend of mine, when people take vacations back home, the things that they see back in Liberia are not the same things you see in other countries in the same region. Like in Liberia, there's not been a time where I got to the airport, and by the time I left the airport and got home, I've already spent over $250 or $300. It's a guarantee. And you're not even spending that money on you, right? It's just, a lot of people are at the airport that are not working,
Mm-hmm.
right? More people are there to hustle and beg as opposed to being there working. And I like to look at Ghana because Ghana is not has it's not where they themselves want to be, but you can see the progress being made. You can see the progress being made. People there, young men and women, people are outside. Don't get me wrong, but when you walked outside, you see people asking, "Oh, you need taxi, or you need that, you need this, you need that, or you need SIM card, you need that." People are out there receiving family members and doing different things. But in Liberia, it's different. There are more people who are there just to hustle than people who are there actually working employed,
Mhm.
right? You look at entertainment. Some of us we would love to work, we work hard, but we love to have fun. You look at entertainment, we're very limited on entertainment to the point where sometimes you go, if you're in Monrovia, there are only few places you go every day. If it's not this Calabash, then it's another place that you have to go. If it's not that place, if you want to go have a really nice dinner, if you're not going to some, local spot, then you have to go to Royal or you have to go to Boulevard. If you want to get out of the city, then you have to go to the new place that they just have recently in Nima County. But like I told somebody, when it comes to security again, what are you guys putting in place to ensure security? Why would I want to go to Nima, right? In the mountains without knowing that I could wake up one morning and someone could enter my spot. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
that, you know. Why would I go out there when there's an internet shortage? But I can't even get in contact with certain members outside of Monrovia or abroad, right? So there's a lot of different challenges that we have to go through, that we are going through in our country that we have to address. But the question here is, why has this thing not been addressed? Not just from this government perspective, but throughout our different leadership. Why are we not prioritizing these issues? We know what the issues are. Why are we not prioritizing them to address them little by little?
Um, I think it's intentional somehow because we understand the problem. We know the problem, and we believe that with the I don't think that the country is suffering from this process I would call manpower issue. No, we do have very competent individual, but I think we need to build much of the coverage to begin the process of know what we want and be hell bent on what we want and see that we have those things implemented. It's unfortunate that we will get into a system that we cannot see the country move through and wanting to say, hey, this is what we want to. For instance, look at this waterfall they have, Patawi waterfall. It's a very strategic area there. You could be one of the very, very nice and powerful entertainment area around there. Make it very nice, state of the art kind of an entertainment, and build and allow some investor build a very nice, probably 4-star, 3-star hotel around the Patawi in Bon County. You're going to see a lot of folks pulling out, and you do a very wonderful advertisement to the process there, and you're going to see you put it on the internet, and folks from outside of Liberia are going to pull into that country to because that's a very natural waterfall. It's very natural. It's not an artificial process there. It's not something that was created by human innovation. That's a very natural waterfall. So a lot of things we can do. We can leverage the country into to ensure that those opportunities will come. But again, what is paramount is that we have to ensure that we build the security sector in a way and that the public would repose a lot of confidence in sector and not only the public, but also international partners and that of our international visitors. And because visitors started seeing more people, because if you build the security sector very vibrantly, what it's going to do is open the corridor for more people to pull into the country. And that would now try to expose the country to a lot of international friends coming in, business folks coming into the country. Liberia used to be a very wonderful destination in the past before the civil crisis. a little time ago when Madam Salif, when the security area, when all mail was in the country, when the process was more or less more relaxed, you had more people put in the country for other leisure visitation and the rest of those things. So it is important that we emphasize, and I will hope that the government will put more time, and that's what we have not been doing. We haven't been putting time in showing that. That we put down into the security process, and we didn't do most of those things. It's quite unfortunate on a more serious note that we have not been doing that. Past government, this government, nothing. Imagine sometimes the security, the police in some area, we have nothing basically in terms of vehicle and the rest of those things. So we will have to put time into this issue, sit as a government, structure the process, both the lawmakers and those in the executive. We have to sit and have a kind of a wonderful and major conversation around the intent of where we want to take the country. Now, the major thing, if you were to improve the security sector, where everyone is moving about very freely in terms of the nighttime, the daytime, and they move very absolutely freely. You're going to see the public want to build confidence again in the security sector, and people are going to do this. But we cannot do that. Trust me. We're going to run around the cycle. We're going to always have situation about where we headed in terms of our own governance process. But we have to have the intention of government. Every major sector, the two major branches of government, the executive that got the enforceability aspect, the enforceability of the process of law in our country is being enforced by the executive. The legislative aspect of it is to appropriate those wonderful budget, a very strategic line item toward the security sector, because the executive will now have to collaborate with the executive in terms of the major cardinal point of separation of power, where you will coordinate very well in that wonderful process of saying they will allot funding to the security sector and we procure the necessary everything. We need manpower process. We recruit more manpower in the different security. For instance, the police. We need more manpower to deploy. The AFL will need manpower. The other list, the immigration will need manpower. The drugs enforcement agency will need some manpower. We increase that. We increase the intelligent aspect of the NSA also. We need some intelligent gathering. That will have to be our. How much are we going to put into place for at least small artificial intelligence to beef the security process up in the country? So we do all those things. You need some major artificial intelligence to some areas like the airport, the free port, and other strategic areas and what have you. If
Yeah,
we don't do that,
but
Robert, we're just going to be in this cycle.
but Sylvester, how do you encourage investing in the security sector without addressing um, some of the most curious things, like you know politicizing the police, for instance, right? The EPS, right? I mean, the security institution should be apolitical,
Very much.
okay? And their only job should be about providing security and and just doing their job. That's it. This is not the current case right now in our country. It seems like every time another leadership comes to office, then the police tend to work for that leadership,
Mm-hmm.
right? The police tend to protect that party and that leadership, and then go against the others. Some people will argue they did not see the police attack seditionists like the way they're doing now, and that if George Weah was still president, the police would not be going to the CDC headquarters and provoking people like the way they are right now.
No.
And that's wrong. If there were any intelligence that something that threatened the peace and security of our country was happening at CDC headquarters or at Unity Party or wherever, the police should do its job regardless who interest it is, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that is in our country right now. It just seems like every time another person comes to office, the police tend to protect their interests and the police tend to work for them. So how do you encourage young men and women, and how do you even encourage the society for that matter, to say, look, this is a professional realm. This is a career. and your job would be providing peace and security, creating bonds with the community and taking care of people, serve and protect. You don't worry about who's president. Don't worry about what political party this person is affiliated with. Protect every Liberian. That's your primary job. How do we change the mindset of the police? How do we change the mindset of security apparatus in our country to say, I don't care what party Sylvester is from. I don't care his political affiliation. He's a Liberian and I'll protect him. How do we change that? The institution is just messed up. The institution is messed up. I don't know if there was something going on to the CDC, Unity Party headquarters right now. Do you think the police will respond like the way they responded to the CDC headquarters? I mean, people don't trust that. So how do we change that mindset to encourage people who don't care about the politics? They focus more on they're more career driven, who care about the true profession. They don't care about the politics. How do we change that mindset to encourage more people in those directions? And welcome to the chairman.
Yeah, Chairman, welcome. Yeah, quickly, for to be very honest here, and Chairman Ben will know this, and some of us we accuse the little Chairman Ben of not following their own political institution before, not being very more or less being institutional driven political institution. It starts from our own political parties, if you will. Then we'll bring that back to the national governance system in the country. Let me be very honest. Every government will fall short of that. Every government in recent time in our country, every government, Robert, on the most serious note, every government, to the extent people were jokingly saying the last campaign, you saw that I don't know it was out of, and I one of those I even defended that. Probably was out of anxiety that happened. You saw some of the EPS even worried. So now you will see security people wearing party materials of a political institution, right? So what we need to do in the country is, first and foremost, it's going to be very clear. We need to institutionalize the process of governance in the country. We need to institutionalize that process and also ensure that we implement the policy when it comes to those things. If we don't do that, we're going to be in the same cycle time to time. It's unfortunate, but we'll have to do these things so that the country will move on. Because if we cannot do this, it's going to be a problem here. Now, where in the world you will see if a political institution were to come into this, they change almost everybody and try to change that and shift the process up. The security should be a professional institution. For instance, if we were to push that to be personal, no Liberian person will come and want to be thinking about doing this, doing that. We agree sometimes you shift the head of the police. We agree, but most of the other strategic aspect of the police or other area or the EPS will be intact. But you bring people every day, to the extent that no one will respect the rule of engagement, and everybody want to be doing this thing like they're bringing their own person in. So it's a difficult situation the country is in now, very between the high rock and the high ground. So how can we pivot from that? It's one of the strategic where people will have to think. We bring people that will have to be strategic in planning and implementing those decisions to move our country forward, and that we're going to be in this process. Because, yeah, security people will move on the side. If they've got interest, they will turn it up. Now that the tide have turned, they're going to be heavy on the opposition. That's what they're going to do and protect all rooming establishment and functions. And it is uncalled for. It is counterproductive, and we have to change and shift from that process and move to real governance. Or in that, we headed for a serious problem.
We have to shift and move to a proper governance. I like that. And Chairman Ben, I will give you the opportunity to go back to our first discussion, and then you can chime in on what we're talking about here. But the president spoke today as a keynote speaker at the 12th Black Business Forum conference, and he said that Liberia is open for business. Chairman Ben, is Liberia open for business?
Well, thank you, Robert, and thank you for holding the fort. I know everybody's busy. I thought there was a fascinating conversation. I've been listening. I've been submitting my reports. I've been listening, and I felt this was actually. I think this is probably one of the best shows that we probably are going to be having. No too much noise, not too much interrupting everybody. So I hope the rest of the people just stay where they are. Lofa, please don't come on. Nobody, please come on. Me, Robert, and people will just have the show today. Yeah, all of y'all stay away because we want no argument. Yeah, but no, I'm just joking. Listen, in fascinating conversation, Robert. The discussion we're having here has to do with the issue of mindset. For me, I think it goes back to us understanding where we come from as a nation. We got to also understand, Robert, that we are reaping what we sowed. Nothing happens in a country's lifespan or in a country's in the happenings of the country, right? Nothing just happened. These things are not magical. The ills that we see in our society today, they just didn't show up. They are the reaction or the response or the direct reflection of something of a foundational structure that we've laid for our country. So whether it comes to the issue of investment or open for business, you don't even have, look, we're very friendly people. We're hospitable people. Liberians, I believe Liberia has the best food in the world. I think we undersell our country, but key and the key component to this thing is, are we trained in customer service? Are we or what? And I'm speaking your language because this is your expertise, right? This is what you do. You work for one of the biggest brands in the world. You are not just, and you work your way up. It's like if you were doing an analysis, right, a SWOT analysis on where to build the next Marriott hotel in Africa, will Liberia be the top of your list? If that answer is no, we have a problem. You know why? And the reason I'm saying that because Robert, you are the chief executive officer of the Marriott Group, and you are a Liberian. You were born and raised in Liberia, right? You've worked your way from the bottom to the top. But because you are born and raised in Liberia and you work your way from the bottom to the top, Robert, you are accountable to shareholders. This is not a situation where you can say, oh, you know what, you're feeling sorry for my countrymen in Liberia. I got to go put one Marriott there. No, you can't, my friend, because you have to do your SWOT analysis. You have to do all of the different things that you have to go through to see, is this going to be a profitable venture? Because if you don't do those things and you go and build a Marriott in Liberia, they'll fire you. You will lose your job. So there are a couple of things that this country of ours, we need to get serious. And it's never late to do the right thing. It's never late, right? We may be far behind other nations that are behind. But guess what? We must begin the process to start to do the right thing. It starts with leadership. It starts with selling the country. It starts with changing the mindset of our people. It starts with us disassociating and disabusing our minds of that laissez-faire attitude that we have, right? That attitude of, oh, yeah, okay, you know that. And like I always like to say something. I say, when you talk to many Liberians, they believe that there's something called the right way, the wrong way, and the Liberian way. News flash. There's nothing called the Liberian way. There's nothing called the Liberian way. It's either the right way or it's either the wrong way. So this question that you asked about whether we are ready for business, whether we're open for business, look, the president can come and give all the flowery speeches. But guess what, Robert? Before any investor, any serious investor, put a penny in Liberia, they will do these things that I'm talking about. They will do their research. They may send an assessment team. They may look at the market analysis. Guess what you're dealing? And then the other thing that may not even be working too well for us is the fact that we have a small population, right? So because we have a small population, we have to open our country up so that people can be able to come into the country. Because that's the only way. People say, why they got Marriott in Accra? Do you know how many people in Accra? In the city of Accra, I think close to 20 million people. That is 3, maybe 5, 6, 7 times part the Liberian population. So
no more than that, Ben. Moreover, around. I said far more than that. Moreover, around.
Exactly. What about the whole country? The whole country is 5 million people.
Yes.
Right. The city of Accra probably got about 15 million people, maybe. And I'm not. Don't quote me on it, but I know it's between 10 to 15 million. I know that. right? So to answer your question, Robert, the answer is no. We're not. We are not ready, right? We're not open for business. What is our, and I will end on this for people or you guys to come in. We have a, what is the doing business? If you look on the easy to do business index in the world, that is the first thing any investor will do. When they decide they want to invest in a country, they go to the it's, I think it's a website that is ran by the UN or some kind of think tank, and it grades you how easy to do business. What are we ranking on that list? We're probably at the bottom. You think anybody wants to go into a country where it's not easy to do business? And there's several indicators that can get you high on that list. Your judiciary system. If the people feel that they get injured, can they go to your courts and don't feel like they have to bribe a judge or feel like they have to bribe a jury? All of those things. Those are the things that Paul Kagame paid attention to. And when people say there's a Rwandan miracle, he said, no, there's not a Rwandan miracle. There's Rwandans doing the right thing and making conscious decisions because you know what? We know where we've come from. So my answer is no, I don't think we're ready.
Thank you. That was great. Listen, we have a long way to go, and for those who have not traveled, when you travel, and the thing about it is, most of our leaders have had the opportunity to travel across the world, and so they understand what customer service is. They understand what it means. They understand how important it is. I went to Royal the other day, and I asked one of the bartenders. I asked the host. I said, "Do you know what the 15-5 rule is?" And she said, "Excuse me." I said, "You never heard about the 15-5 rules?" She said, "No, Fambo, I've never heard of the 15-5 rules." I said, "How did you become a hostess?" And she said, "Well, I just applied for the job." And I spoke with one of the managers, and I said, I've always heard that the Guar is a 5-star hotel. Now, I don't understand how you guys got your grading to be a 5-star hotel, but do you understand? Do you know what the 15-5 rule is? And I was shocked. The manager is a European, and this guy also did not know what the 15-5 rule is, Ben Sanvee. And we left that conversation alone, and I introduced myself, and I said, "Look, I work in the industry. And I have a working company that I'm working on. This is something that I really want to do in Liberia. I want to invest in the tourism and the customer service in Central Liberia. I want to be the guy where you come to us and we will train your entry and upper management. We will train your bartenders. We will train your server, and we will really instill the true meaning of customer service, because we are left behind. Because every hostess in any serious hospitality industry understands that at 15 feet, eye contact and smile, and at 5 feet, you engage the guests. That's the bedrock of every hostess. And the fact that we have these things in our country, and we're not, these companies are not investing in actually training our people the right way, they will never understand the meaning of customer service. So we have a long way to go. The only Marriott hotel, Ben, that were almost completed before COVID, before the COVID happened, was a franchise. And I went to Dubai, and I was involved in an interview because I was recommended by an executive member who said, "Look, this guy is from Liberia. He loves his country. He has the experience. I'm not sure if he's willing to move back to Liberia because he's still a young man. I think you should talk to him." And I went to Dubai. It was an investment that a company had to pay to use one of the Marriott brand name, 4 Points by Sheraton.
Okay. Sheraton, yes, yeah.
4 Points by Sheraton.
Is the one that is right on the boulevard?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I went to Dubai. We had a conversation about some of the challenges and things that needed to be done, and what it would take for me to relocate back home. And I actually took a trip back home to inspect the property. And we did not make the decision to move back home, but I was this close. But the challenges to build a Marriott hotel, a corporate, you will never get a corporate brand in Liberia. Because the franchise, they take the risk. The Indian folks, they have a lot of franchises here that are lower grade hotels, right? But to build a Marriott hotel like you see at the Kotogo International Airport, do you know how much it costs to stay at that airport on a slow day, Sylvester? You were paying over $325, including tax, per night. Per night. And the occupancy is still at 89, 90%. It's not just foreigners, they're Ghanaians too.
Here's a joke. I'm cutting you off. There was a time we were traveling to the maritime, maritime assembly thing in 2019. When I would spend the fund that the money would pay, I told Minister of Family, I said, Chief, I can't make it. Next day we left, went to Apple View Hotel. That's dope.
So
Yeah.
when you look at the occupancy, they're not just foreigners. I'm talking about when you think about these companies investing in the country, people just don't invest and open hotels for people that are coming from out, because they looked at how many of these folks are actually coming from out. They looked at the population and people who can afford these hotels in that country, who can afford the restaurants and all the different things. And so to open these hotels back home, I can sit on the board and say, yes, Liberia is ready for these kind of businesses, because we still have a long way to go. But Sylvester, here's the question I want to ask. Ben said Liberia is not open for business. We'll talk about security. I want you to answer this question. What would it take for us to proudly say that Liberia is open for business, right? What would it take from a government perspective, from a citizenry perspective? What would it take for you and I to be convinced, to go to investors and say, look, I'm convinced that Liberia is open for business? How can we say that with all confidence? In 2 minutes, I want you to answer that question.
So basically, the first thing I would say, we need to change our mindset, our perspective, first and foremost, both from the governances, from the public sector, and that from those of all the ordinary people. But we have to change our mindset and be very honest, change the whole bureaucratic proceeding. There's a long range of a lot of things in the country that will have to be changed. But we change the mindset first and foremost, waiting to it. We change the mindset of people who are going to be honest to ensure that we open the market out. The government will have to direct us now and show that those that will violate the rules, including themselves, will heavily pay the fine. So honesty is very vital here, Robert. We have to change our mindset, the perspective to things. But as Ben stated just now, the Liberian way, and there's no freaking Liberian way. It has to be the strict way. Then there's no freaking way. Or is it how we can operate or our operate pattern? No, we have to change that set.
So there's a let me stop you there. So Sylvester, you said change the mindset. There's a whole generation of folks whose mindsets you will never change at this point. They're stuck in their ways. And so if we're talking about the new generation of Liberians, we need to set that foundation to have them understand the new mindset. So with the current generation, the government, and all of the bureaucracy, how do you go about changing that mindset to come to the realization that, yes, we are open for business? It's a lot of work. And how long would that process take? It's not overnight.
Can I say something quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
There's no new generation, Robert. There's no new generation. Even Liberians that Liberians purported to be well off, to know better, right? The ones who are in the diaspora, not only in the US, there's a whole diaspora out there, Europe, China, right? Those who have left the box, right? Who have traveled, who have seen things. In fact, they are the worst one. We are the worst ones, right? Those of us who we are part of that group, all of us, that you, myself, we are the worst ones. We are the ones who actually go back home and, in fact, start to perpetrate the wrong things. Simple example. Let me give you an example. I was on a flight to Monrovia. I think this was about 3-4 years ago. I never forget this experience. Never forget this experience. This was when, I think, which one of the airlines? Air France. When Air France was still going to Liberia. you know that they stop they make stops in Freetown. They do I think 2 or 3 stops before they end up in Monrovia, or they go to Monrovia.
Yeah, when
and
they pick up from Paris, there's a stop in Bamako, Mali.
Bamako, and then Freetown, and then come to Monrovia, and then and then go back to Paris, stuff. I saw all of us, right? Liberians, we were all on there, right? Obeying the rules from Paris to Bamako to Freetown. The moment the plane landed in Monrovia, and they said, welcome, you know how the plane taxiing on the runway, right? You now land and you're taxiing on the runway to go and park at the gate. And they say, welcome to Roberts International Airport. The time here is so and so and so. As the air hostess is saying those things,
everybody coming up.
Then I'm looking in the back and I see my friends and my fellow compatriots getting out of their seats. The plane is still taxiing. Mind you, they didn't do this anywhere else. What is the basic rule when a plane lands? Sit your behind in your chair until the plane is parked at the gate.
Until a complete
they
stop.
know it. Everybody know it, but because we were in Liberia, the air hostess literally had to scream over her lungs. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay in your seats. If you don't stay in your seats, you will be fine. I mean, literally, the lady was threatening them. And guess what? I'm sitting watching these people. They're getting off the plane. The plane non-stop, right? Everybody getting off the plane. Some of the people who are doing it, they literally saying it. Oh, but they don't want to know about we in LIB. And we in LIB, we can do our own thing here.
That's it.
Listen, you know what it will take? You ask the question what it would take? It would take a leader. It's not going to come from the bottom. Trust me.
The top.
It has to come from the top down. It almost, look, I'm telling you, it is going to have to come from the top down. JMB can do it. I can tell you that he ain't able to do it. He doesn't have the energy to do it. He doesn't have the time to do it. His president said if he even attempt to start to do anything like that, his presidency will crumble.
Then the only person that can do that in our country is the person that got the kind of a spirit that Charles will have.
So that's what I'm saying. You need a
leader. Can do it,
you need a leader. You need kind of like a Kigami-esque leader, right? Who read the Riot Act to the country. And guess what, though? I will go this far to say they will respond to that leader. Liberians are very good at following their leaders. But it's because we have this nonchalant, lackadaisical attitude as a society that we accept mediocrity, Robert. We accept mediocrity. Look at the discussion we were having a few weeks ago. We were debating which administration built that roundabout. And we were excited as a nation. As a nation, 170 plus years, we were excited because of ELWA. Look, I dream of the day, Robert, where we just wake up, right? Where we just wake up and we see development. Without any fanfare, without any cutting ribbon ceremony. You know, Robert, how you live in Atlanta, right? I'm here in Charlotte. I mean, every day you drive around, when they're walking.
Yeah.
When they are, you don't see the governor going there to cut ribbon. You don't see the president fly from Washington, except there are major multi-billion-dollar projects that are going to fundamentally alter something.
Yeah.
I am looking
but Ben, I want you to include this on that. You're making a salient point. But if you take a guy from here and you put him in a system where he's trying to bring about different changes in that system, he has pushbacks. Mm-hmm. There are people telling him, "Oh, this guy, we will make sure he gets out of here because he wants to change our system. We have our way of doing things here. Oh, you want to bring your American ways here?" How do you maneuver? How you say you will need a leader who the people can follow. Is it just from the presidency? Because I don't think that you can change Liberia just from the presidency. The president is very important because he sets the tone, right? The buck starts and ends with him. But what about those people, his lieutenants, those people he would need to help him change those communities? How do you maneuver when there's a system of people who are used to doing things a certain way? These very people work in these systems. They pay their bills that way. For instance, I'll stop here. When you go to the Freeport, how do you ship things back home and clear them in a reasonable time frame without bribing damn near everybody? How do you change that system when those very people who are supposed to help you change it works and benefit from that system, and you are the new guy? How do we change that?
You see, Robert, this is why I disagree with you. I believe the presidency, the way our presidency is structured, it is the only job. It is the only job. I think people can say that the country will change from the legislature. You're wasting your time. The country will never change from the legislature. I believe the presidency is the only job that can change that country. Let me tell you why I say so. How many people do you see wear proper suit in Liberia today? How many people? Since George Weah lost the election, how many people do you see wear proper suit? Maybe you will see a lot of proper suit this weekend coming up because your wedding, you are demanding we wear African, we wear, right? You are demanding, that's a demand, right? So you will see many people will go in the closet, right? What a suit you see them wearing now, right? You know what? I wore it had today purposely because I wanted to kind of have this conversation. And are they seeing how Joseph Boyka can wear? That he can have this, he can wear. I'm doing it.
You find a leader too.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm giving you an example. I'm giving you an example because you know what? I'm surprised I haven't seen a lot of officials wearing these hats in Liberia. You saw it with Taylor. Pee-wee. Taylor used to wear those Chinese looking hats. You remember those hats he used to wear to go on his farm?
I got my own, yeah.
Very good. You saw it with the only person we didn't find out was Ellen. Ellen was a woman, so she, Ellen really didn't care about all that craziness, right? But you saw it with Talbot, with the high suit, total involvement. You saw it with Weah. That's what I'm saying to Robert and Pee-wee. The presidency is the only position that I believe that we can fundamentally alter and change the system with. Because if you have a strong president, if you have a president that is fully cognizant, that has an agenda, I'm not talking about a president that comes into office and take the first 6 to 8 months to develop a program. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a president that comes and hit the ground running. Look, again, an example, there's somebody like Cummings, right? That's one of the things I keep doing. Look, 2 people in our contemporary politics, in this new contemporary politics, right, that I think Liberia missed out on was Bromsky and Cummings. I'm being very serious with you. These 2 men, now they're very far from perfect, but these 2 men, I have the privilege to know. I've listened to them. I've seen how they operate. I've seen, and again, like I say, far from perfect. People can have their flaws, right? But I'm telling you, you need a president that hits the ground running on day one. You don't need a president that comes and say, you got to be able to pull the plug. You got, how did Talbot start to straighten up the civil service? Simple symbolic things. Showing up at ministries unannounced. If you see the president going to work, or the president lives at the executive mansion, and you hear the president in office at 8 o'clock in the morning, do you think the minister of state is going to be in office at 10 o'clock? No. So, like I said, there are several symbolic things that the presidency can do that the country can even start shaping up. We talk about the issue of customer service, Robert. How do you think? Look, my friend that owns Monroe Chicken. You guys have been to Monroe Chicken in Liberia. Monroe Chicken has probably the best, or if not the best, customer service I've seen
Yeah,
of
they
any
are-
They
government
are
in the
they are
country.
very
Yeah,
good.
going
They
like
are
that.
very good.
Very good.
Yes.
Call the guy from Monroe Chicken and ask him how he did it. You know how he did it? He fired people. He fired them. He told me, he said, Ben, and you enter Monroe Chicken, you see even the children got their night, their cap, the net on their hair. He told me, he said, Ben, when I hired the first group, I gave them my expectations and my and the criteria that I had set. The typical Liberian thing and Robert, the first group came and they said, oh man, I think I jail for 1 week. When they decided to pivot to go back to the old way, he fired them. You know how many people looking for a job? When he brought the new people in, he told them, he said, a whole batch Jack got fired here 1 week ago. I have no problem firing you two next week if you don't conform. Go to Monroe Chicken. You know how long Monroe Chicken has been open in Liberia?
Very
To
long.
the point that they got 2 locations.
Mhm.
And
Very
they even got a delivery service.
Absolutely.
So I'm telling you, Robert, it has to do with leadership. The lack of discipline. Go to ministries today.
Even the phone ethic.
That's what I'm saying. When you enter Monroe Chicken, the people are speaking to you. How are you, sir? They're smiling. They're not. You know how many other children coming from West Point or from places where they didn't even know where they're, but they're not bringing the problem to the job. Just in this country, you know how much stress we got in the country, but do you go to your job and carry your problem there? It has to do with leadership, Robert. Leadership. And that's why I said the presidency is the only route. Until we get a president in that country, right, that clearly hits the ground running on day one. We are running in circles and we're not going to make any progress. The legislature, forget it. You wasting your time, because guess what? If the president sets the tone, the legislature also will follow. I'm waiting to see a president who said, I am wondering, and I'll end on this way. Say the budget. All the noise our rescue people were talking about. I thought Joseph Boyka was coming with a budget that was transformative. What is the difference between Joseph Boyka's budget and Joe Weah's budget that he campaign against? I'm waiting for a president who will say, you know what? Education in the budget is going to be 30%. Health is going to be, you know what? Members of the national legislature, if you're in Leke, I'm not going to sign the budget. It will shut the government down. Let's wait and hear what the people got to say. Let's wait and see what the people are going to do about that. When the people get upset with me, the president, for shutting the budget, the government down because I want more money to go to hospitals, or I want more money to go to schools, or will they agree with you who's saying that you're not going to pass the budget until you keep your fat salaries? But you know why he can't do it? Because he too wants your budget to be fat. So it's a give and take. That's what I'm talking about, Robert.
Yeah. Sylvester, come in. I think we should keep it 3. On Monday.
I told you, I said none of the men can. Anybody else can, we keep them.
So if Alex was here now, then you know start interrupting and you know start saying your own thing.
You want to press like glass.
But Sylvester, I want you to weigh in here. Ben talks about we will need a president who hits the ground running on day one. Listen. I know that this is still far. We are not even a year into a new presidency. But listen, the time goes by fast, right? People are already contemplating on 2029. And listen, 2029 will be very crucial, right? Men and women and even children will have to make decisions in the interest of that country. Guess what? I think 2029 might be one of the most consequential elections in our country, right? One of the most serious elections in our country, because where we will be at in 2029, when after almost 20-something years, when the war ended, where young children, college graduates, still do not know where their next jobs will come from, where we still don't, mothers still don't know if they can go to the hospital and be able to be given the care that they deserve. Our elders, our older folks who are dying from curable illnesses, right? 2029 will be crucial. I want you to tell me, from your perspective, what will be, or who will be that leader in 2029 that you will support, that you believe will hit the ground running and start that transformative leadership that Liberia yearns for?
Yes, very well. I think we need a leader, but again, it's still. I wouldn't want to jump the gun to say between now, but I think between now and the close of next year, early 2026, we'll start to determine who that leader is going to be. But we need those kind of leaders to actually hit the ground running. We need leader that will be responsive, leader that will care, and leader that will want to change the paradigm shape of our country. Now, for example, let me just do a quick throwback. What Mr. Taylor did before. There was a time he called for a particular church service to pray for the country, right? And at that church service, he expected most of him. When he went to that church service, he was very disappointed that only one of his cabinet ministers attended that church service. Was our late Professor Joe Warababonba, the former information minister. He dismissed the rest of the cabinet with immediate effect. Why they didn't attend that church service? Most of them went, yeah, trust me, most of them went at the time. Even some of them went to the wrote letter and fast and pray on that letter for the president to reinstate them. Immediately after a week, he reinstated the rest of them. All of them, he reinstated them. Rather, the next Sunday, the president was going to a church service somewhere in Atherton. The entire government went to that church service. To the extent the church was packed, to the extent there was no seat inside and around the perimeter of that service. So back to the issue that you need a president that when he said, I'm going to do this, you can get in that he did not want none of his president therefore moving forward. So you need it come from the top. Let's say, for instance, the president.
Sylvester, though, someone might say Liberian people fear Charles Taylor because one, he was a dictator, two, he was a warlord, and they understood that he meant what he said. Now, you keep saying Liberia need a Taylor, a president, or Taylor, a character. Let me ask you this: can we, or do we have the characterization of a president that gives Taylor his strength, right? Because I think he was a president who was he was commanding, right? He was commanding in his speeches, and people took him seriously. But then under the undertone of that was fear. I don't want a president who people will fear, right?
No.
Why you don't want
yeah,
that?
but
Robert.
I don't want to, because when Taylor tell you, say, there's curfew. I don't want you in the street. If you are in the street and you're
they say baso ni ba medicine.
Yeah,
Let me give you an example. Do you believe? I listened to what her name the other day on some video she did. It was in the past. Miata Fambule. And she was talking about data progressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what that woman said? I was shocked when she said it. She said, they asked her, what's one of your greatest regrets as a progressive? She said, one of my greatest regrets is that we failed to realize that the country, when we were agitating the way we were agitating, that the country was not ready for one man, one vote. I was shocked when she said that. And let me tell you why I was shocked. Because the one man, one vote thing, right? There's something called the tyranny of the majority. What we have in our country today is the leaderships that we've had in Liberia are a reflection of the country. You can't divorce that. So when you look at it from a holistic picture, like Robert is saying, and Peewee, he want a leader that the people fear, right? When it comes to Liberia, there has to be a component of fear.
Of course.
There has to be a component of fear. Maybe 20, 30 years down the line, when you're not talking about a new generation, right? Because that time the country is going to be straight. Because you see what happened in Ghana? That is the situation that didn't happen in Ghana. Ghana had Gerald Rawlings, who they feared. Now, the foundation technically was laid, and you see what they're doing right now.
Yeah, but that was a different time, Ben. I'm talking about the Liberia right now. I want a leader who is very strong. Look, I listened to Kamala Harris' speech yesterday, and I thought that very forceful. I sat in my chair and I believed every single word when she said, I will be a president who knows where I stand and who understands where America belongs. She would. I believe her when she said she will hold Iran accountable. I believe her when she said that she would not succumb to North Korea. I believe her. I want a president whose strength I see in a way where I understand that he or she means what they say and says what they mean without fearing for my life. Liberians fear for their life under Charles Taylor.
But
When
yes,
but I don't want a president in this day and age that will say something. If you ever go to the market again, I told you not to go to the market. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock, if I come to the market and I see you in the market.
So how will you rather the president say? Revise that speech and tell me what will fly in Liberia.
Revise the speech. I would say we have created an environment for marketers to go.
Jeff, where you just started, the whole country was just looking at the phone and say, I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
So Sylvester, tell me, how do we have a president who is strong? You mentioned Alex Cummings. Alex Cummings is a soft-spoken man, but I know for a fact that given his background, I know people can take Alex Cummings seriously.
Yeah,
I want a leader who is strong in his words and his stance, and people know exactly that he means business without fearing for the life. He was.
So I'm really worried about the fearing for the life component. Let me tell you what I'm talking about when I talk about fear, right? I'm talking about you talk about Alex Cummings. You're right. He's very soft-spoken. When you see him, he's very, he's short. He ain't got the build of right? But I'm telling you, Robert, there's something about the presidency. Look, right now, they're seeing JMB that people used to be making noise about. JMB. During the election of JMB, right? If JMB walks somewhere right now, there is something about that job. There's an aura around that job that demands respect. No matter who is in the role, it gives you that factor. It is left for you now, right? You saw JMB the other day. He was during his cabinet meeting when he said, "Oh, I'm not afraid of anybody. We're gonna do what we gotta do. We're gonna, he was speaking in an assertive way. I'm talking about. That's why I say, Robert. It's not. I know we're in the 21st century. This is not about old people worrying people. No, I'm talking about because I like to call Kigami because Kigami too. He dealing with people too. So that kind of way, right? But I'm saying this because, and I may be wrong, but I know my people. Robert, now I ask you, Jenna, I say rephrase that speech. And think about Liberian people. First of all, our people are serious. They will fight, they will make song out of it, they will make joke out of it. You got to find a way where you balance it out. You got to find a way where you balance it out. And like I said, Joseph Boyka right now, the whole country, first of all, let me tell you something. You know what? You know why Joseph Boyka will not be able to fundamentally transform Liberia? The whole country thing that they power. That's the first thing. You got cabinet ministers who call JMB their power. You got people who, first of all, yes, it's the traditional elderly thing, right? But if the whole cabinet thing that the president had the power, who's going to stand up to the power?
Yeah.
When you have cabinet meetings, right? You know what cabinet meetings are supposed to be about? It's supposed to be an opportunity for a free flow of ideas. I'm waiting for a president that comes and sit in a cabinet meeting and say, ladies and gentlemen of my cabinet, you're not disrespecting the president, right? But let's have an exchange of ideas here. I want you guys to challenge me. If you were to ask a Liberian right now and say, challenge the president, there will almost people in the transit. The reason is because of the enormous power that the president yields, right? So that's why I'm saying the leader will have to create that environment. The leader will have to. I was speaking to a minister the other day in this government. He said JMB said to them that go out there. I don't mind if you make some mistakes, but just make sure you do, and you go out there and do your job. You don't got to run to me for everything, right? I'm saying I need a leader who will create the environment where people will be able to take bold decisions. People will be able to be innovative. People will not be able to be. You don't want that. You want a situation where people are able to thrive, and you will start to see the country move.
So, Sylvester,
yeah.
I want you to add this in there, Sylvester. So, do you think that to start to create that environment, do you think that people will be less afraid to stand up to the president if we created a system where, for instance, our mayors are being elected, right? Instead of being appointed, if our superintendents are being elected and they are answerable to the people who elected them as opposed to the president, do you think that most of these appointed positions, which give the president the power to do it, to appoint and fire these folks, do you think people will be more open and feel more independent to stand up to criticize the president because they know that their jobs are not in the hands of the president? Do you think that will help if we open our system where we have some of these appointed positions, elected positions?
An attempt to do that, you will carry the bill backward seriously. And
Thank you. Thank you, Peewee.
Why?
That would be a major problem because
We're
all
not
those
ready.
people, everybody will have the individual power now to be
We're
challenged.
not ready.
Nothing will happen in the country.
We're not ready, my brother.
The important process to do in our local governance process is to have the constitution the way it is and have a president that is brave, intentional,
A unitary
move the country
system.
forward,
Yes.
right? Now, Mr. Taylor, the reason why Mr. Taylor was never a dictator, people will say I'm fond of him. He was never. Mr. Taylor acted in the way he acted because of the condition that were unfolding at the time. People were all around the place, insurgency, all over the place. So he had to behave. But he's a straightforward leader and a firm leader. There was a time, this issue about 1997, and when he became president, this issue about the guys, the Fuller guys, the Leone guys holding the money and trying to temper up their change rate. Mr. Taylor sat in the executive mansion. He said, I'm hearing this Koyokaya thing going, people carrying bag, they pay that rate coming from going up. And when it come back down. Because it was artificial, right? Rather, the next day, the rate came back to 40.
Robert,
Back to 40. He knew people were temporary. He knew people were trying to do some things.
Robert, let me say this.
Oh,
let me say this, right? And I'm trying to.
Ben, one second, Ben. I want both you and Sylvester to take a few minutes, and because we're on the radio and people are listening to us.
Yeah.
So you are telling me right now, look, we keep complaining that the president in Liberia is the most powerful president, right? The president appoint damn near everybody, right?
Yeah.
And we keep talking about people who are mute. People are not being man enough to challenge the president, not in a disrespectful way. But
I don't want to forget this.
So then what makes you think that elect some positions being elected? Why do you think that would be a terrible thing for our country? Why do you think it will take us back instead of forward?
After you are coming.
No, for instance, look at the legislature first and foremost.
Thank you.
Look at the legislature first and foremost. Everyone will be divided and have their own personal interest somewhere.
Robert,
the president of the Republic of Liberia. Let me come to the conclusion. There was a time President Taylor called on. He said that the armed robbery with hearing. They said the guy Joe the bottle were coming. He said, Joe, I'm giving you 1 month. If you don't clean the Joe the bottle, I will get you out.
It took 2 weeks.
It took 2 weeks to get rid of Joe the bottle.
In fact, armed robbers were turning themselves in.
They turned themselves in.
Armed robbers were turning themselves in.
There was a time
Joe came at a press conference and said,
drugs in Liberia. Yeah. The drugs were all over the place. Even soldiers that were working for Mr. Taylor were involved into it. Mr. Taylor called Yaka Kuruba. The Yaka today is
yes, that's very Yaka.
You are now a general, but I'm taxing you the responsibility to raise all the generals. Yaka disgraced general that said Taylor. Yaka disgraced. Yaka today. Yaka. They very Yaka. You see there. Don't play with him. Yaka control the drug system in less than 30 days. There were no drugs thing. No ghetto. There were no ghetto around Monrovia because the president instructed him to do it.
Peewee, let me say this.
Leader, my brother.
Robert, and it's also, and then we say this is not a because look at somebody right. Paul Kagame don't have a powerful voice. When you hear his delivery, he's just a firm leader.
Yeah, he's a dangerous. He's a dangerous.
But that's what I'm saying. And so it's not about. So that was the question about. It was not about how you sound. Taylor did have the voice because Taylor was a small man. Taylor was not tall.
No,
Taylor
Taylor 5'5".
I think he's a.
No, but Taylor was not. Taylor is not a quiet guy. He's
That's what I'm saying.
Everything.
So it's not mostly about physique, right? It's not mostly about physique, right? Where I'm coming from is this. Look, you talk about electing mayors and superintendents. Robert, look at the national legislature, like Peabody say. Every election cycle, the House of Representatives and the Senate, whenever they have elections, no less than 80% are shown the door.
Mm-hmm.
No less than 80%. They're very handful. Maybe under 20% that can come back.
No, Ben, maybe between 10-15%.
10-15. Thank you. I'm being conservative.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they replacing those people with? They're replacing those people with the very same people from the very communities. And because the mindset is the legislature is now a place where you go. First of all, the legislature was never this attractive. That this dispensation made the legislature this attractive. That in the early years made the legislature attractive.
Mm-hmm.
The legislature under Taylor, in fact, the people in the legislature under Taylor, some of them were just there when you say part-time, to be frank with you, because you had to be doing, they had lawyers, they had people who had different, other profession because they had to make a living. Right. No legislature under Taylor was making 15,000. You crazy? Where you passing? First of all, the budget was 80 million. The national budget of the country under Taylor was 80 million. 80 million. So what I'm saying is, right? What I'm saying, when you look at where we are as a country, we need to, until we can get matured democratically, until our people can get enlightened and the mindset can change, if you inject the election of mayors and the election of superintendents, you will have a total breakdown of governance in the country. Total breakdown. Because, first of all, everybody will feel like, oh, they have, and then, like you said, the most dangerous thing is giving power to a man who is not enlightened to understand what that power can do. You don't want that, Robert. Again, I go back to the mindset that you need a president that is comfortable in his or her skin. You need a president who, when he or she elect or appoints a minister, you give that minister the leverage, but with a caveat of accountability. Give Robert, you made Robert your tourism minister, give him the free will. Give him the opportunity to say, Robert, go out there and be innovative. You got my support. I'm giving you the political will to do it. But if you screw up, you're gone. Look, Robert, look at what's happening right now with this government. What the LSCC had a press conference the other day. How many officials in the government have declared their assets? How many? There's still a huge chunk that have not declared their asset. Yeah. The last time the president spoke on this thing, the president sounded like he was appealing to the people to do
what they should have done a long time.
To do what they should have done before they even took the job. He sounded like he was appealing to them. Look, the day the LSCC had that press conference, the president should have issued an executive order suspending everybody. You don't return to work until you go to LSCC. You are seeing that next day that we have been traffic jam at LSCC. Practical leadership. Symbolism. One of my professors always used to say this to me. He said, Ben, leadership, practical leadership is also important, but the symbolism of leadership is also important. The reason why every black child or black girl can now dream about being vice president or dream about being president is because somebody else not do it. That before Barack and Kamala, the aspiration were doctors, lawyers, basketball players. We never thought in our lifetime we could tell our daughters and our sons that they could be president. It took one person. That's the symbolism component of it. A Liberian girl child can be president, can be vice president, because we got Ellen, we got Jewel Taylor, we got all these other people, right? So that's what I'm talking about, Robert, when it comes to the issue of symbolism. So the issue of fear for me don't have to do with the notion of killing people. It has to do with the notion of a leader being fierce and wanting. That's why I say you got to come with an agenda. You can't come and be trying to figure out your way, and then you say you will be hard. No, you got to have your agenda for the people to follow. When you call your first cabinet meeting, you are giving marching orders. First of all, every minister should sign a performance contract. Every minister should sign your performance contract for 6 to 8 months. Review it every quarter. That the minister of state job, that the chief of staff, the president job. Mr. Minister of State, every quarter, you review, you let every minister bring their performance report, and we review it. What did they promise to do? What were their KPI? What were the indicators to show that they will succeed? If you made 60, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you the next quarter to push it to 60. Well, why you made 60? What can we do to be able to help you to be able to get to 70? That's the kind of hands-on leadership we need in Liberia. That thing we're doing in Liberia, everybody calling the president uncle and pa and ma, George, we are what everybody friend. It's not going to work, my friend. It's not going to work, Robert. We need a firm leader. So when you hear people talking about Charles Taylor, it was because Charles Taylor knows he's so smart. And I'm not by any means here saying Charles Taylor need to come back. Thank you that he had there, that the Taylor had there, right? I'm not saying he must come back. What I'm saying though, Robert, is that the reason you see the Kigamis, the Gerald Rawlings, these leaders, right, thriving, is because they demand from their officials. They don't accept mediocrity. You saw Kenya the other day. The people stood up. What even the president did? The president, you saw what he did at first press conference. He said, oh, the army ready to protect every installation. When they put threat in him, he come back and say, you know what, I'm a leader who's listening. The new cabinet, he vetted them. All of them got performance. I've been following Kenya. All of them, they got 3 to 4 months where they consistently will check on them for delivery. That's how you do this thing.
Chairman, I think we need to have more show of 3 panelists.
I agree.
Because you are at your best, as according to Dr. Henry Peabody, you are your best.
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of people are liking your deliberation today. And so great job. Pee-wee, I mean, we are where we are. It's going to a year into this leadership. We got, I think about 10 more minutes. Let me ask you this. What do you think we need to do? I mean, what do you think the Joseph Boakai-led government must do to start to reassure Liberians that they actually came to rescue the country in key areas, right? Health, security, jobs. I want to focus on jobs. And I think that they are trying their best to try to bring investors in the country. But the mistake that they are making as well, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, is that the kind of jobs that they're trying to bring in the country, they are not doing the groundwork to ensure that when those jobs do come to Liberia, Liberians are trained and prepared and well equipped to work those jobs and fully benefit from those jobs. So when it comes to job creation, especially for young Liberians that are graduating universities, what do you think that the government must do now to start to show signs that this is the Joseph Boakai-led government? Someone said to me, you know what? I can't even tell if government changed. Someone said to me, there's no difference. Since Joseph Boakai inauguration, there's nothing he's done differently that shows that we have a change in government or change in vision or change in leadership. So when it comes to that aspect and job creation, what should this government do now to start to chart a new course and change that narrative? You're muted.
First and foremost, the government will have to be very intentional here and focus on trying to recalibrate. Now, yes, what they have to do. The process about where we find ourselves in terms of this issue. Now, the government, currently, the government is single larger employer in the country, and that is quite unfortunate. We don't have the capacity to do that. And the amount government give of this petite amount, very few people in the sector of government that will make something that will commensurate their life standards and the rest of that, and really take good care of their family. Now, for the president to do this, he have to be very clear on this matter as to how the approaches or what mechanism he can put in place. The first and foremost thing is to call a national conference of the mind of our people. This national conference is intended to reconcile the country. The country is bitter. The country is divided from two angles. The president won a very narrowly, very competitive and tight elections. The election was very close as per the results that came up on the neck. So you do that to reconcile the country and put the country on the stage of moving forward. Now, if you did that, then you tried again to cooperate with the legislature to ensure that we put forth a kind of a bill and a solution to the process in the budget support system to reform our security sector. There was a time we did some reform process after the war, after the demobilization process in the country, but those kind of reform process were not holistic. We need a reform of the security sector where we will build the security sector and put some strength and confidence in the security sector. With that, and we ensure that the country is peaceful. There's no unnecessary riot around the place. There's nothing destroying property that will distance or fear investors from coming to the country. This issue of fear mongering, rumor mongering about protestation and the rest of those things. You change all of those and put into place major policy prescription that will be implemented by some of your ministers, that you will give them the guideline and timeline as to what you want to do, what are the approaches. For instance, the Ministry of Agriculture will have to come out. What are the extension plans, essential or expansion and extension policies of the agricultural sector? You himself play a major role in the agricultural area before. What can we do on that? For instance, those areas that we're obviously, what are those prospect opportunities we have? We invite potential investors to say, the grade of this, this is what we have. Sometimes government spend your own money. You do your own prospecting and what have you, and get the result out there. Places like what I was talking about, for instance, where you have Batawi Waterfall. My sister had just gone to Liberia. She took some photos with her team that were in Liberia, Batawi, and they toured the place just 2 days ago, and she sent those photos to me. Batawi, according to her, the place is isolated. People that go around when they come from Banga into Batawi, but that's a natural waterfall. How can we take advantage of those things and pump some investment or do a massive public relation process for the government to ensure that those investors are coming to the country? So you need that. But the first and foremost issue, for many years, Robert, we have not had a major investor in the country. Do you know the reason behind that? It's simple. Before we went to other international representation before, the main reason behind that is this process about negative reportage coming out of Liberia about the country. And that is evident by some of the things we just saw yesterday. It's going to be the same thing. We cannot change that because the government alone would not reduce the unemployment rate in our country. Absolutely no. You will win government. If Ben were to win to be president tomorrow, all of those that supported, we supported Ben, he will bring some more in government, our friends and our relatives. It will just stop to that level. And then the unemployment rate will still be very high. There's an exponential level of unemployment rate in the country that we need to very focus on. And to focus on that, that's part of the reason or reducing the security threat of the country, because most of these kind of protestations that's unfolding in the country have been done by young people that are not employed or employ young people. That's the race of the country. How do you now, as a country and government, focus on those things and leave the rest of the other things that are not basically moving on the process? So we will have to do that. That approach mechanism would be very productive for the country. Other than that, those counterproductive tactics have been deployed by elements. It will expose us and it will hamper the country greatly.
Thank you. Look, listen, you talked about all of these different things. And so it shows that we have people who understand what needs to get done. And it seems like we know what needs to be done, but either we don't have the political will, or we're not patriotic enough, or we don't know how to the technical know-how to start to get these things done. I want us to focus on job job creation. Right now in our country, I see most of our students are graduating with political science and business management, right? Political science and business management. But Most of the jobs in the country right now are about hospitality. You have more entertainment centers. You have more mom and pop corporate shop. You have more restaurants. You have more resorts. You have more Airbnbs. How do we, if you were put in charge to say, you're not in tourism, but you have some ideas here, right? To say, how do we create jobs for our young people based on the business connection that we have in abroad? How do we ensure that those jobs that are coming in the country, Liberians are equipped? If we were to focus on hospitality, what would you do from from an academic perspective to try to ensure that Liberians are prepared for jobs, for hospitality jobs coming to the country? Would you recommend a change in curriculum, and would you introduce things like an associate degree in hotel management, a 12 months certificate in culinary arts? Would you ensure and change the curriculum to ensure that Liberians who invest in themselves in these areas are Liberians who will benefit from the jobs that are coming in right now, other than political science and business management?
So the thing is, and it's a two-pronged approach. When you talk about tourism and all of that, I talked about the issue of, you can't have a vibrant tourism sector if first of all, if the country is not secure, if the people feel that, they don't want to come into a country that, that don't have the capacity to be able to feel secure, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when you talk about the issue of education and whether people are doing political science, well, you can't put a boot on people and say, you know what, you have to do this, you have to do that. What you can do is that you can provide incentives and make it a little more attractive for people to want to go ahead and study other things at the University of Liberia. You could make the whatever I don't know what you call it, the tourism college or whatever course you're doing. You can say, you know what, government is it's free for you to go there to do that, right? Or it's free, or government can be able to subsidize it. There's several things government can do, but I want to pivot back to the issue of what we can do to be able to create the kind of environment that will be able to lead to the influx and to the vibrancy of the country that we're all looking forward to seeing. There have to be a bunch of things will have to happen, right? Some of it will have to be some symbolic. Some of it will have to be practical and direct. Okay, Robert. The president don't need. Peewee mentioned a national conference. That's symbolic, right? That's symbolic. We've had national conferences, right? That's symbolic. People will go there. People will hug. People will laugh. But they leave from there. They go back to their old ways. The president don't need a national conference to fundamentally shift the budget, to alter the budget. Look, you got to make the country, you got to make the population feel like they have a stake in the country. People only protect things that they feel they have stake in. The reason many Liberians are lackadaisical about their country is because they don't feel like they have any stake in the country, right? The government has to initiate immediately. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here, and Robert. There's something called the African peer review mechanism. The government now need to reach out to other countries in the region, on the continent, that probably find themselves in similar positions than that we find ourselves in, to be able to figure out how did they get out of their situation. Not necessarily to copy their model 100%, but to be able to bring a twist to it so that we are able, because once there is a problem, right, there is a solution. Liberia is not the only country on the face of the earth. The issues we are having in Liberia, other countries had those issues and they were able to overcome it. I will institute the Singapore and the Dubai model, right? We got to first realize something. I read the book from Sheikh Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai. He said, they said, what was the first thing you did when you assumed power? He said, I've had to find out what was lacking in my country. When they identify, what did they identify? The lack of human capacity. That was what they realized. We're a small island. We're a small country, right? We got a lot of money. We got a lot of oil, but we don't have the human capacity. So what did they do? They opened their country up. So Americans can go and work in Dubai. But guess what? Americans not going to go work in Dubai at the detriment of the citizens of Dubai, though, right? That's where government has to play a very smart role. Encourage public-private partnership. This notion about Liberianization, maybe it's too old of a word now, right? We have to be able to say, you know what? Start to implement the laws that are on the book. No foreigner can come and own a concessionaire in Liberia without certain percentage of Liberian participation. The government can do that. That is within the preview of the Liberian government. You have something that people want. You set your premise. That's why I say again, it goes back to leadership. The president of Liberia can fundamentally alter the budget, move the budget from the current state that it's in into a project, solution, social-based, impact-based budget. The president can make a decision that, listen, all of this waste, I don't want it. We don't want it. We don't want it. Speak to the nation. Let the nation know what we're going to do. But you can't be telling the nation, say the country is broke when you got $2 million for entertainment. You can't do that. It's not, it has to walk hand in hand, right? It has to be walking and chewing gum. So when it comes to the issue of jobs, it clearly has to be the private sector. Government ain't got the capacity to be able to provide the jobs that we need in the country. But we need to be able to include the private sector and the government. Look, the private sector is the engine that makes the country run. Government is the engine oil that need to go in that engine for the engine to run. That's where the PPP model comes in. The government has to be able to come in and say, you know what, Robert Gagwa wants to open a farm. How can we work with Robert? Robert, you can't do this alone. Let's go ahead and find you a foreign partner that have the capacity to do mechanized farming. But guess what? Robert, you own 30% of this cooperative. You know what? Robert, right there, in 2 years, Robert is a millionaire. When you look, the next person. So all of these things.
So Ben, let me hold you for a second. Let me hold you for a second. I enjoy everything you just said, right? But you talked about the Dubai model and how they locked the human capacity, and so they opened the country. Yeah. But then you also said that Americans and or other foreigners were not coming to work in place of the citizens of Dubai. But here is the thing. I think what we are having right now in our country, whether we recognize it or not, is also the lack of human capacity, right? And in this country, one thing that I've realized, and a lot of my friends, and I see it happening with a lot of young people, is that people went to school initially and got degrees in areas that they were passionate about. And but they could not get jobs. And so they had to go back and actually either get recertificated or got a degree in something that they could work. The point that I'm making is this. Politics has become the most luxurious job and most attractive job in our country right now. Mm-hmm. Which is the reason why a lot of folks, if you ask a young man or a young woman who may have different aspirations and different interests, if you had a choice, what is the quickest way you think you can get employment in this country? They could possibly say, I want to become a representative. I want to work in government, because that's what is most popular right now. But to your point, we don't have a lot of spaces for jobs. But Robert,
that's a reason for that.
But listen now. So then, if the private sector must work, right? How then do we ensure that we're building the human capacity so that the private sector works, so that when we do open the country, an investor comes in the country, we have enough people in the country so that those who are coming from out are not necessarily replacing them. I'll give you an example. Bob Johnson Hotel was a perfect example. We were on the radio asking the then education minister what were in it for Liberians, because we knew that we did not have the folks in our country at the quality level to work at the hotel at Bob Johnson. So then how do we open the country and ensure that Liberians work, and ensure the investor that they don't have to import employees, but the folks in Liberia don't have what it takes to work those jobs for them.
So and Liberia is even in a much better position than Dubai was, or Singapore was, because both the Dubai and the Singapore model are the same, pretty much, right? Liberia is in a much better position than Singapore and Dubai were when they started. Liberia has a vibrant diaspora, right? Liberia does. Singapore didn't have it. Dubai didn't have it. Dubai needed foreigners to come to be able to bring in the capital.
But most of the people in Liberia, most of the locals see us as foreigners too.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, right? You can't do it at their detriment. The reason they are attractive to politics is because that's the only thing they see. That's the only thing they know. If the government, like I said, if the government is able to shift its priority and say, you know what, we are going to have $100 million in the national budget specifically directed at supporting government, public-private partnerships, right? And we will encourage Liberians in the diaspora. We will encourage foreign partners to come and bring capital. While you're doing that, you are training the locals. You are training the people who don't have the capacity. Let's just take agriculture as an example. If you come in and say you divide the country up into 4 parts. You say, you know what, the Lofa, the Bong and those areas, that's the component, that's the proportion of the country that is going to focus on rice production. You go down to the southeast, you say, you know what, they are going to focus on cassava and potatoes. You go to the other side and you say, you know what, this is going to focus on just fruits, mangoes, pawpaw, wherever. The country population not plenty, the people not plenty. If you focus on that, government has to invest in this. They have to invest in this. Then you'll be able to bring in the investors to be able to train our people, to be able to get them and not train them for them to continue to be subservient, but to train them for them to be able to climb the ladder so that they start to see the benefit. If they see their brother Robert Guar from Grand Bassa County, who owns 30% stake in the cooperatives in Grand Bassa County that is providing cassava chips only to China, Robert has become a millionaire. Why you think the next young man in Bassa will want to be representative? He will want to be Robert. The reason is the role models in Liberia are politicians. The people who ride the best cars in Liberia are politicians. The people who live the best lives are politicians. So that is the only reason why. And the people who are in business are not Liberians.
So
Liberians.
So Sylvester, I want you to chime me yet because I think we got maybe a few more minutes.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes.
I want you to chime me yet. Look, the country, Ben said, the country is not big. We don't have a huge population, right? But the sad reality is the country may not be big, but 70% of the country is illiterate, right? And so, when a government goes out there to bring in investor, as an investor, I want to know, with all of the different laws we have, be it the Liberianization laws or whatever the situation is that are not properly implemented, I want to know if Liberians have what it takes to work the kind of jobs that I'm bringing. Because look, it defeats the purpose to go out there and bring investors, only for those very investors, the import workers that don't necessarily need to work in these jobs in another country. The reason why you want to bring jobs in the country is to benefit the citizens of the country. But if the citizens of the country are not well trained and well equipped to work those jobs, then you can't force my hand to give them those jobs, because then I'm at risk, right? So that's what happened with the Bob Johnson hotel. The managers, the supervisors, the general managers, all of them came from either South Africa or Europe. There were only 2 Liberians who worked at the upper level at that hotel, and both of them are my friends. They came from Philadelphia and New Jersey. And so the point that I'm making is, do we have to take a serious look at our education and change the curriculum? Because there's the thing, we can't force folks to go to the university and learn hospitality. But if they see that 80% or 50% of the jobs in the private sector is hospitality, they will be forced to go in and learn something where they can feed their families. If you got 20% of the jobs that are coming in that are technical, require technical training, they will be forced to go and acquire technical training to work those jobs, because everyone would not be everyone will not be a representative, everyone cannot be minister, everyone cannot be mayor, everyone cannot be superintendent. The government is so small, yet and still wants to hire so much folks, it won't work. So do we have to seriously look at first changing the curriculum, where we are training Liberians in areas of investment that we intend to bring in the country, so that when they do come to our country, those investors don't have to import managers, supervisors to work those jobs, but they can hire Liberians. Do we have to look at our curriculum? You're muted.
Absolutely no, Robert. The curriculum we have is great.
How great is curriculum when we don't even have a certificate for culinary arts? We do not have any trained institute.
But there are institutions giving a program, certificate, or a program in hospitality in Liberia.
No. They're not properly certified. I'm talking about from a national perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the customer service. So those institutions are not certified.
Yeah, so we can upgrade.
They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. So from a national perspective, can the government come and say, look, we want to bring a multi-billion-dollar... Look at what happened in Ghana with the year of return. Do you think the Ghanaians it didn't happen overnight? They have the human capacity for that. And Ghanaians and those investors made thousands of dollars. So we can't just depend on those behind the house certificate. I'm talking about from the university level.
Yeah, so we can upgrade the curriculum from the perspective of the University of Liberia. That's what we have different universities there. We encourage them to do that and fit into those areas, right? There's a need to have the conversation on that. Now, for Ben was just saying something just now, and I reflect some time ago. I was in Abidjan and I observed that most of the guys that drive those big Mercedes, big cars in the Côte d'Ivoire, they are all guys in the cocoa and coffee business. Now, the guys, the cocoa and coffee business making big time money around the world today. Now, what they will do is that you have few Ivorians that are educated. They will move through and set the system and encourage most of the local farmers. Those local farmers, when they harvest their product, they will bring the product through. So if, for instance, we were to do that, one region of the country is involved in rice production. Who is championing that line along the people? The small farming people. You don't have to be a mechanized type of industrial farming. Everybody will have to engage into that. We can feed that country, and when we are sufficient with food, then we'll start getting involved into other technological areas, if you will. So the baseline here is, I agree, we need to expand most of the jobs, the investors that can come in the rest of the board, we have the technical know-how in the country for most of the guys to operate and do those jobs. But the problem there is that the officials we have at the Ministry of Labor, for instance, are allowing those guys to come and grant them work permit and believing that Lebron can do most of the job. We challenge it. There was a time we challenge the system and say, hey, there are certain jobs in certain areas. For instance, you're saying Lebron cannot. And no, Lebrons can perform those jobs. But because folks at the labor ministry will go and grant work permit to those guys, we are even trying to evaluate, because the law is very clear that you have to go through all of the processes to ensure that Lebron cannot get the job done. But Lebron can get the job done.
But Pee-wee, and Ben can come in and we can try to close up. Pee-wee, the biggest hotels in our country, you said Liberians can do the job. The biggest hotels across the nation, be it the Farmington Hotel, the Royal Hotel, the Boulevard Palace Hotel, they are all foreigners.
They are foreigners because the foreigners are bringing those foreigners. Liberians can perform those jobs.
I'm talking about Liberians in Liberia. Do you think Liberians in Liberia have the capacity to be general managers at these hotels, at these resorts? What I'm saying here is this, right? In Ghana, they have institutions that focus on hospitality, right? They have institutions. You have hospitality management. You have culinary arts. We have a lot of folks who cook we have some of the best cooks in our country. But it will amaze you that when you go to some of the local spots or some of the forest, you have Lebanese making pepper soup. Now, why would a Lebanese man make me pepper soup in Liberia? Right? And so what I'm saying is, from a national
the current head of our Liberian Chef Association, they just won the recent time, Liberia won that competition at the Dubai Expo 2022. We won it.
Yeah,
we won it in Ghana.
Guys, before we close, I think we're and I hear what you're saying, Robert. We can elevate the discussion. We can bring the culinary arts. We can change the curriculum, or we can advance it or make it better. We can do those things, right? We can provide a certification program. But if, like the thing you were talking about, there are Liberians who can cook pepper soup. Why is a Lebanese man cooking pepper soup? It's the enforcement component of it, right? It's the enforcement component of it. Again, it is the role of government. Yes. It is the role of government that should make sure these things are not happening. That's why I said, right? The beauty about where we are. Look, The biggest hotel in Liberia should be a hotel that is owned by a Liberian, a portion of it owned by the government, right? Because the government has invested some money into it, and maybe a foreign partner owning minority shares, right? Somebody from the diaspora, somebody or local, or somebody. The Liberian is a Liberian, right? What the reason I say that is because at the end of the day, there has to be an enforcement component of this thing. It can't be done haphazardly, and you will only be. You see these Arab countries. Why do you think these Arab countries got interest in businesses around the world? I was watching something the other day about Qatar. Qatar has a stake in Arsenal, has a stake in Google, has a stake in all of these places, and so and so. It gives them the leverage, right, to be able to do that. That's why I'm saying let the government, first of all, the Liberian government should set up a sovereign wealth fund. It's very simple to do. They're not rocket science. When you have the kind of resources we have in our country, it's almost like we're living from hand to mouth in Liberia, the way we can do things when it comes to our resources, right? If we want to, the other thing the Liberian government will have to decide, and the president of Liberia will have to decide, or whoever comes in, and if the current president have to say, you know what, you have to focus on a niche. If it's industrialization, then focus on industrialization. You can do other things, right? If it's about saying we're going to use our extractive industry to be able to provide jobs, then demand to add value to our extractive industries. Demand to have tire factories, demand to have condom factories, demand to have put in place the mechanism and tie these people to these things. But every day we have a conversation, we say Western cluster was supposed to do this, they didn't do it. And we sing around it and we make noise around it. That's why, again, it comes back to the issue of governance. The issue of governance, because everything is tied towards that. The government will have to be that referee to be able to make sure that all of these things are in place for our people to be able to benefit. The issue of people going to culinary arts, yes, we can have all of the best people. Guess what will happen, Robert? If the people go and get their degrees from those schools and they can't find the jobs, they will want to leave the country to go work somewhere else. So we have to do it hand in hand, where the people get the training, which I agree with you, but then the jobs also should be there for the people to be able to provide the opportunity. And then we can also focus on ecotourism. We can also focus on ecotourism.
Listen,
but yeah, it was a great
it's been a fascinating discussion. And listen, everyone keeps saying they enjoy the show, they enjoy the way the show is going. So, gentlemen, we have to rethink how we operate the show.
I agree.
Because the people saying they enjoying the show, they're listening to each of us. No one is talking over anyone. And I think that it doesn't matter if it's 3, 5, or 10 people here. I think we can do the same thing, right? So let's try to ensure that they're always enjoying the show. But listen, Liberia is all we have, and it would take all of us to make Liberia what we desire Liberia to be. It will take all of us. But again, everything starts with the government. Everything starts with the government, and it starts with leadership, the tone of leadership. The buck starts and ends with the president. The president is the most powerful person in the entire country, and so everyone watches what the president does. What everyone watches what he says, and what is encouraged. And so, Mr. President, and all of the folks in our country who aspire to be leaders, people are watching you. What you do, what you say, what you encourage, right? The decisions you make, and things like that goes a long way. And so it's been a great show. I'm not sure who's in the studio. You guys don't want to come on today?
Henry, I think you're coming on. Yeah, definitely.
Can you come on? We're about to leave. But it's been a great show, man. And thanks to Sylvester for coming on and hanging out with me until Ben came on. But I thought Ben took over the show today. Okay, Ben was very forceful. He was very powerful, very assertive. And I think a lot of people enjoy his deliberation, and I hope that people learn a lot. This is what the closing argument is about. It's about having discussions that are substantive, and discussions where it makes you think, right? It makes you think about the possibility of our country and our people. I always tell people, there's no shortage of greatness in our country. We're smart people. The Ghanaians are not smarter than us. They've just done better than us, right? They've shown that they want to be the best, right? If we want to be the best as a country, we must start to show it and do it, right? Act upon it, and just do less talking. Act upon it. So, Sylvester, I'll give you 1 minute to give a closing, and then Ben can follow.
You muted.
For a great show, I think we need to follow this pattern of encouraging our country move on. We always just saying that we want to see the country move to this level, the next level, but we have to take some very tangible actions in terms of how we intend to see the country move forward. We cannot just sit in this kind of line and see the country. We have some talents in the country. I agree with you. We need to upgrade the curriculum of the University of Liberia. We need to bring some lot of productive discipline into it that will fit modern days time. I mean, we've seen in the country now we have a lot of other institutions coming with the RT studies, something in cybersecurity and the rest of that. So the University of Liberia have to be, the government also, we have to support the University of Liberia and give some subsidies to some of those other universities to encourage them to increase most of the academic program. We need some strategic area also. We need places in all of those lines that will encourage folks to come and do and certify at a very high level that will help the country move forward. Because the country, almost 5.23 million people, we have to be engaged as citizens and as people to have a national agenda as to how we can push our people forward. It's important. We do have very productive and smart people. We should not always be in the politics. They're discussing the day-to-day politics. The day-to-day politics you have for the outcome for the country. And that would be something that our young people should be set to the base of meeting the challenge ahead of us tomorrow. It is important that we that will always sit and see these things we can amplify our tone from different angles. It's important that the country will have to move and so on. But we need a firm leader. And the leadership of the country will have to be firm and very collected in terms of the way we intend to discharge or engage into exercising our governance system. If we were to do that, things are going to change, because you just need a president that will tell the police chief that, hey, I don't want two-way traffic. If you see a government official driving this car, arrest that official and I will punish that official. Trust me, if the president called the police chief and said that to him and he started implementing those things, you're going to see things going to change. If the government officials start using the tail lane, the taxi driver will stop using the tail lane. The taxi driver will use the tail lane because they see the official of government violating, so they will follow suit to go through the process. That's why the country it is, how things are running in the country. But I think we can be, and I think what we're doing is good, because we engage the government time to time. Some things going to happen. They're going to change things as we move forward. Fast forward to election in 2029, there's going to be a lot of changes that we may see. And shockingly, we may just have one of those leaders that will come and be firm. Not that they can give you fear, but the kind of a tendency will come and will bring some very positive outcome. And I think the country will have to use that. Thank you, and have a very wonderful evening.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Yeah, and I like to end with a quote from Paul Kagame, and I'm a huge fan of Paul Kagame. Not, I know people think he has his excesses, but he clearly is a leader who has proven to have delivered and continues to deliver. And one of my favorite quotes from him, and I'm going to read it. It says, "We cannot turn the clock back, nor can we undo the harm that has been caused. But we have the power to determine the future and to ensure that what has happened never happens again." For me, I think that's extremely powerful. The reason it's powerful is because part of leadership is to inspire and summon a nation to greatness. You have to be able to push knowledge into the minds of your people. It don't necessarily have to be all the time in the classroom. It has to be how you communicate with them, what you do, the things they see you doing, the actions that you're taking, the decisions that you are making. Those are the fundamental, and those are the symbolism of leadership that I was talking about earlier, right? It's inspiring the nation to think beyond its capacity, that nothing is impossible. You talk about Kamala Harris last night. That's what she was trying to do last night. When she talked about the fact that, the decisions that we, still trying to write, there's the greatest story ever told on the face of the earth. That's how Americans believe this country is. That's why they aspire for greatness. It doesn't mean that they don't have issues or they don't have problems. Like I said, it starts with the leader. We need a transformational leader in the country. We need someone who will summon the nation to greatness. We need someone who, when he or she acts and moves, the nation will act and the nation will move. We talk about agriculture. We need a nation, we need a country where the president will be able to summon the country to say, you know what? We have to feed ourselves. And in feeding ourselves, these are the things that we're going to do and back it up with governmental back actions. You talk about tourism. We need a president who will inspire the nation to say, you know what? This is the only country that we have, so we can't throw paper on our street, or we can't act like they say we don't know. These are some of the things that I believe if we start to do as a nation, or if our leaders start to do. The problem, we often say the problem is with the people. No, the people follow their leaders. There's a reason why there can only be one president at a time. There's a reason why you have presidents in the first place. Because if you didn't have leaders, people will be running helter and skelter. So I believe fundamentally that one leader can be able to shift the mindset of a society. You can start to inspire your nation, and that nation will shift into a direction that you will begin to see them doing wonders. So, Robert, I thought it was a fascinating conversation. I think we should do more of this. I think we should continue to talk to our people. Those of us who have an opportunity, who have had an opportunity to step outside, we got to aspire to do things differently. We're not perfect, but we got to continue to keep pushing the needle, because at the end of the day, Liberia is the only country that we have. And we love the country. It gets frustrating, but I'm telling you, there's something about that country that when you're there, even when you're not there, you miss it because it's home. But I'm telling you, man, I believe at the end of the day, Liberia's greatest days are still ahead. And we will find our leader. I just don't know who it will be right now.
Great show, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I've been getting a lot of text messages that the show is awesome, and that I should host the show more, and so hopefully next week we will get back to it. But thanks to all of our followers, thanks to our audience, thanks for watching, thanks for sharing the platform. We appreciate you for doing that. Thanks to Peewee, thanks to Ben, Dr. Peabody, Tomalin, George, Lofa Julius, my own sis Grace, and the big brother Kalabu. Who else am I missing? And the great man Toga Alexander, the great reputable journalist from Liberia. Thank you. May God bless you. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy time with your family. For those of our folks in Liberia, get a great night's sleep, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Hey, studio, can you come on and take us home, please?
I think maybe they're gone.
Those guys ain't gone. We're still on the radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we can just end it. Okay. I can end it from behind here.
Okay, good. All right, guys.
Okay.
All right, guys.